Welcome back to Supernova Traveler. If you are new around here, join our Travel Around the World family. And if you are a returning subscriber, please remember to subscribe, like, share, comment, and continue your journey as we review another episode of The Haunting of Bly Manor, The Way It Came. Today we dive into Danny's guilt and what drove her to leave her family in America, as well as how Flora sees death as she consoles the cook, Owen, about the passing of his mother. We start in the past with Danny as a little girl with her best friend. They eventually grow up and he has proposed to her. Both the families are happy about the upcoming nuptials, but Danny is not as excited as a bride in love should be.
And I'm happy to say he knows it.
You've got great shoulders. You know that?
Thank you.
Should wear your hair up on the day. Show 'em off.
Karen.
As we travel through her story, we find that she is an unrequited love, or more so her friend is an unrequited love. That she feels an obligation to marry him and to love him because of both their families and their past as well as their current present. As the day nears for her to marry, she becomes more and more unsure and soon finds herself having to tell the truth. Danny looks so stressed in that moment, and the one compliment from the seamstress made her smile. She goes out to dinner with her fiance and slowly tries to call the wedding off. Of course, the truth is not taken so well, but the worst thing possible happens that makes the whole moment even more unbearable. The fiance is hit by a truck.
Eddie.
Okay. Yeah.
Eddie.
No, let me go.
Eddie.
Let me go.
I'm sorry.
Jesus, have you not? You've done enough!
I'm sorry. Eddie. Eddie.
Danny, racked with guilt, starts to see his ghost everywhere. He's like a burden on her soul. We can assume that she has never told anyone in their families what truly happened that night after dinner, and she holds on to that moment till this day. Back at Bly Manor, Danny is getting ready for Owen's mom's funeral. She looks overwhelmed and comes to the conclusion that she will not be attending. She finds Flora at the graveyard of the church, and they have a talk about funerals and the death of Flora's parents.
You know, your parents loved you so much that in a way they'll always be here.
They're not here. I'm sorry, Miss Clayton. They're really not.
We find out that the bodies of Flora's parents were never found and that they buried empty boxes. And we also find out that Flora's parents' ghosts are also not on Bly Manor property and that Flora has already looked for them.
I've looked and looked, but we can pretend if that makes you feel better.
Oh, no.
We see Flora etch a sketching or just, doing like a sketch of the name Viola Lloyd on the ground with her coloring pencils or crowns. And I wonder if she is the Lady of the Lake, and I guess maybe we will get her story later of how the Lady of the Lake came to be about. She's the only character that hasn't actually been named yet of being deceased. We find out that Miss Gross, who is actually very close to Owen, decides not to go to the funeral, which is very odd. To me, it's odd. She explains it away, but I don't really believe her explanation. Again, I tell you, this woman is probably dead because first she was not eating or hasn't been eating around people, even though she does supposedly drink tea and wine, but we don't know if she's drinking the tea or wine actually or where it goes. And now she never leaves the grounds because she's not going to the funeral. Even if you don't like funerals, a close friend will usually go to support another. Danny sees Peter Quint out the window and rushes to the door and finds that it is actually Owen. Now, she thinks she is seeing things and going crazy, but as the audience, we know that she is seeing Peter Quint when he wants to be seen. Owen comes in and has dinner with everyone since all day Miss Gross has been making Owen's favorite. At the dinner table, Flora talks about death and repeats a phrase we heard from Miles before. Dead does not mean gone.
When Mum and Dad died, I thought I was going to die too. I was sure of it. But then I thought, what if I was already dead?
Flora is being so honest in this moment, and it is lovely to hear a perspective of a child, because if anyone has ever suffered loss before, they understand how difficult it is to lose someone that you truly, truly loved, who is a part, and an intricate part of your life. And people don't like talking about death, and they don't like the idea of consoling someone, because there is no consoling. There are no words. And of course, with time, the ache will become less, but that person that passed will always be there in your mind. In the back of your mind, you will be triggered in the strangest of moments. You can be completely, utterly happy, and then boom, it hits you that this person is no longer there. And this can be 2 years, 5 years, 20 years past. The presence of that person missing from that moment in your life will always be felt.
But nobody else knew, and I was walking around dead. But everybody could see and hear me. That was dreadful. It only felt like dying, because actually, I was still alive. You have to be to feel that way.
You know, Flora is so smart. You know, as you get older and you mature, and hopefully people are maturing, you look for emotional maturity from the people in your life. And Flora is showing such emotional maturity.
I wasn't dead. I was just really, really sad. But then I learned the secret. I didn't even need to be sad anymore.
What secret?
Dead doesn't mean gone.
And a few moments later, after Flora explains herself or explains her idea of death, we have Miles who starts to act out. And he requests a cup of wine, and he's talking as if he's an adult once more.
Yeah, gave me half a glass.
My mom, too. Except without the water.
They do that in France for the little
I
kids.
don't want it watered down. I want an actual bloody drink.
And in this moment, I kind of feel that Miles, at moments in time, is getting possessed by Peter Quint. He is taking on Peter Quint attributes, and Peter Quint is a ghost who doesn't want to be dead, and he is trying to live his life in moments through this little boy. And this ghost wants to have a cup of wine. And it's not necessarily Miles who wants the wine, but Peter Quint who wants the wine.
Seen Peter Quint since he left? Maybe you let him into the house?
After the outburst, both children are sent to their room, and we notice something strange about the dollhouse. It starts to open on its own, and we see Peter Quint's doll hanging over Miles' bed. Danny asks Flora questions about Quint, and Flora again looks over Danny's shoulder, and now Danny wants to know why she does that.
I'd just like for you to tell me the truth.
No, of course not. We don't let him in the house. It's not how it works.
What are you looking at?
The dollhouse is a replica of the manor, and it seems to have its own ghost and tells where everyone in the house is at all times. I'm starting to wonder if the ghost that Flora is talking to is Miss Jessel, and that Miss Jessel is helping Flora keep Danny safe while at Bly Manor.
I'm sorry?
You do that a lot. You look over my shoulder. What are you looking at?
I don't know what you mean.
As the kids lay in bed, the adults go around a bonfire and talk about the people who have died, specifically Owen's mom and the Wingraves. Danny goes off with Jamie, the groundskeeper, to have some alone time, while Owen stays with Miss Gross.
You can't find you. You sure?
Danny and Jamie talk more about Danny's past, and every time Danny feels somewhat happy or enjoying herself, she sees the ghost of her fiancé.
Okay.
This abrupt interruption sends everyone home for the night, and of course a new problem occurs. Late in the evening, as everyone has left, Flora opens her eyes to see that Danny and the Lady of the Lake dolls have moved.
Miss Clayton?
She grabs Miles and runs to catch Danny.
That sounds awful.
It was my mum.
I am so...
Flora distracts Danny from crossing paths with the Lady of the Lake with a lie about having a bad dream. Miles looks very fearful. After putting the kids back in bed, Danny goes and burns the glasses of her fiancé as his ghost stares back at her. And that is the end of the episode. Thank you so much for taking the time to come by and watch the review of episode 4. I know I really want to crank these out, but I have been watching so many different TV shows on Netflix, avoiding editing, but I promise I am going to finish this show before the end of November. Please remember to subscribe, like, and comment, and let me know what you think about the show thus far.